I was getting my hands wrapped and I'm back to back with my opponent, maybe five, six guys standing around her are talking about me. It's from Thai, so I don't know what's being said, but they being quite disrespectful when I later heard what was said. Kind of like, what's this girl doing? Who does she think she is? And stuff like that. They were betting a lot of money for their girl to win. My coach, who speaks Thai, heard all of this, but just didn't want to tell me. No need to tell me. So there was this kind of big build up of I don't deserve to be there and I am going to lose. I'm going to get really, really hurt. And so I remember phoning my coach from home. I was worried and I was building up these scenarios in my head. And, what if I can't land anything on her? What if she's smarter than me and stuff? And he sent me a video, way back in the early days of me training. And he said,
Izzy Wilkins is a professional Muay Thai fighter, coach, and content creator. She holds a record of 16-2. She's gone 3-0 in the Thai circuit and recently won the Patong Stadium title as the underdog. Here's what makes her story different. She didn't start Muay Thai until she was 20 and didn't take her first fight until 22. She came into the sport later than most. Everyone she competes with, especially in Thailand, where fighters have been training since childhood. She also coaches boxing and K1 across adults and children, and she's been documenting her entire journey online. Izzy, when you're fighting people in Thailand who've been doing this their entire lives, what's it like knowing you walk into the gym with almost a decade or more less experience than others?
yeah, it's a bit of a tough one, because I know people find combat sports at a later age. I know 20 isn't necessarily that late. But yes, when you're standing across the ring from someone who's been doing it since they were 5, 6, 7, or since their parents own a gym or something like that, there's always had a link to the sport. And I came to it a little bit later than normal and achieved quite a lot quite quickly. But also, I just have to realize I'm on my own path and I just enjoy the journey and stick with it. Win, lose, or draw, I just try and perform my best. Sometimes that works, sometimes not so much. But at the end of the day, that's the plan, really.
And you said you didn't even like sports growing up. So what sparked you to it in the first place?
Yeah, so I maybe when I was like 10 and younger, I enjoyed sports. I enjoyed sports with the boys in my school, maybe like rugby and football and stuff like that. And then going through the teenage years, I just completely lost interest and I convinced myself sport wasn't for me. PE, which was physical education, which was our curriculum in sport at school that you have to take. I hated, I was trying to find ways to get out of it and on a bit of weight and just thought, this is my life, I'm not going to be one of those sporty or fit people. And it kind of changed in lockdown, funny enough. I just decided one day I'm going to start running. The next day, I think I managed an 8-minute run. It was like the worst 8 minutes of my life. And then from there, I just tried to get better and better at running. And then I tried doing circuits at home. And then I found my gym, which is where I started Muay Thai. So, yeah, it's lots of little baby steps that got me there. But yeah, at one point in my life, I convinced myself fitness and sport and being healthy wasn't really for me. And then you just got to find your sport and you've got to find your calling. So it took a bit of time, but we got there in the end.
Yeah. And everyone has their own version of what their calling is physically. I'm curious, what do you love about fighting so much?
Funny enough, I'm not a particularly aggressive person, but I enjoy how smart you have to be with it and how you have to push yourself further than you have before. And so for me, I love working on my fight IQ. So I love being smarter and more controlled in the ring and working on my athleticism and making sure I'm stronger and more powerful each and every fight. Those are the things that really fire me up in and improving myself. Say I'm matched up against someone who on paper should beat me or has got X amount of years more experience than me or more fights or whatever it is. I enjoy the process. It can be rough and it can I can struggle, but just to on keep my eyes forward and focus on, okay, I want to step in that ring and be the best I can be. It seems to be working. Yeah, for me, kind of the ideology of what I could be in the ring is what keeps me going, if that makes sense. Like if I knew I had a fight 10 weeks from today, I'm going to be a completely different person in 10 weeks. And that really, really excites me.
And common sense would say the earlier that you start, the better that you would be. I want to challenge that for a second. Do you think there's any disadvantages that those that started earlier have? Maybe you see things from a different perspective. Maybe you have a different outlook on things. What advantages do you have starting later?
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually. There's kind of a difficult point when a junior comes up if they've been competing for years and years and years. In the UK, for example, we have no head contact with 16 and under. So these juniors are used to having their hands down here. And as soon as I started, I was 20, I had to learn to keep my hands up here. And to make as small as that was really important because these juniors are going into the ring at 12, 13, whatever, and they're winning and they're doing really well and they're point scoring. And then when they get to 16, they have to get out of a habit of hands can't be here anymore because you're going to be hit in the face. They've got to be up here. So something like that is quite tangible. You can see it. You're trying to teach a young adult out of their bad habits. That's kind of like one thing that I've seen quite frequently. And then another tangent would be if a parent is too pushy with their child, their young kid is doing really well with the competing and the fighting, and they're traveling up and down the country, and then they're pushing that child so much that the kid is like, no, I don't want anything more to do with this sport. I want to go do football instead, or basketball, or whatever. Or they don't want to do any sport at all. It can kind of flip, shouldn't. Because my gym have been really good at having that equal support of go for it, but also take time to rest. But I have seen it where kids can go through adolescence and just start to hate the sport, unfortunately, which is so sad because it shaped me as an adult, so it will shape them as an adult. It's that's a difficult one to balance, I think. And one day when I do have kids, I need to figure that one out. So I want to keep them in combat sports. I don't know, I don't mind what they would do, but I don't want to be that pushy parent and be like, get in the ring now sort of thing. So it's a difficult one, but yeah, that's another side to it, which is rough to watch, definitely.
Yeah, burnout is all too real.
Yes. Yeah, especially that age. It's so impressionable and their brains are still like sponges and they could still learn so much about the sport, but then something clicks and they're like, no, I don't want to do it anymore. So, yeah, that's a difficult one. And I don't think that's not just combat sports. That's, I think, any sport or anything tough at that age, definitely.
Yeah. And at such a young age, it's like you said, they're almost pushed into it. So it's like they're not even making the decision for themselves. And I think that's a large area where the burnout actually comes from. And in your own mind, starting later, do you think you have lower expectations than other people starting in the sport where you're just so happy with the growth and the progress that you've made versus somebody that's might have been in the sport for 10 plus years and has high expectations of themselves?
That's an interesting one. I'm not too sure. I like to think that as I've grown in confidence in the sport, I can set myself at a higher expectation. But then some things happen, and I have to ground myself and be like, no, actually, you're still new to the sport. For example, the fight I had in February out here in Thailand was my first fight in Thailand, and Thailand is the homeland of the sport. So I'm coming up against a girl who's had, I don't even know how many fights she had because records out here are just like, they don't, they could have 100 fights. They don't really care sort of thing. She had a lot of fights and a lot more experience than me. And I came out here being like, yeah, I've, I'm ranking in the UK and I'm doing really, really well. But then actually when you go up to that next level and you see, okay, you're kind of coming up against girls with 100 plus fights, that's when I'm like, okay, I'm now back down to level one again and I've got to build myself up here. So I don't know about setting myself at higher standards, but you just grow with the sport. I think and as your confidence grows, you grows, then you need to be grounded a little bit and you need to learn to do something a little bit different and learn it that way and go from there.
What do you think has been the hardest part of your journey?
About 2 years ago, I had a loss and I was on like a 8 fight win streak or something. And, again, my confidence was high. I was feeling really good. I thought, I'm getting that recognition in the UK. And then I came up against this girl who was exceptionally talented. She's called Jenny Redford. I probably underestimated her because my confidence may have been too high for that fight. And so many factors happened on the day where like I didn't get a proper warm up in. I wasn't quite in the right headspace. I was like too happy, if that makes sense. And not, locked in. I was, yeah, not quite there. And then in the ring, literally from the first bell, something in my brain was like, no, this isn't your fight. Like, just give up now. And it was a really rough fight. It was three 3-minute rounds. And straight away, she was quite a bit taller than me. And straight away, I really struggled with her. I wasn't landing anything. And she was kneeing my face, elbowing the top of my head, slid my nose. So much was going wrong, and I had no answers in my head. And like I said earlier, I like to be the smarter fighter. I like to have that fight IQ. And I swear to God, those are like the worst 9 minutes. It was just this giant woman coming at me and just landing whatever she wanted, sort of thing. And I tried and tried to get to the last round, and then with 8 seconds to go in the third round, the ref called it off. I had 2 8 counts in that round, and yeah, the second 8 count he just waved it off. And I wasn't really there mentally, and I was just all a bit like, I don't know what's just happened. Like, I know I'm bleeding. I know she won. Anyway, and I was a bit of a mess afterwards. I couldn't figure out what was the why I had to go through that, or what was the point, or like, why do this sport if you literally get hurt that much and you get humbled that quickly? And so I remember the fight camp after that one. For my own good, I had to get straight back into another fight camp, and I was like, I need another fight, because if I stop here and take a break, that's me done. I don't think I would have come back from that. I don't know why, just that's the headspace I was in. And I went back, had another fight. It was a tough fight, but I won. And then that was when I was like, okay, so you have the highs and you have the lows. And I had a lot of back to back highs with the back to back wins. And then, yeah, this fight just kind of changed my headspace of like, okay, you need to tweak this in your fight camp. You need to go into your warm up with 40 extra minutes, or you need to make sure you've hydrated well enough there, or you just kind of learn these things as you fight. And that was one of the times where I really had to reflect and think about it. And funny enough, it's taken me 2 years, no, a year and a half to watch back the fight on YouTube. I refused to watch it because I knew that wasn't me in the ring, and it's still really up to me. Now I can watch it and I'm fine. But like I said, that's taken a year and a half. So you go through a lot, and um and not just for your team and your family, but you go through these moments. That was a rough moment for me, but you get through it. And now I'm out in Thailand, and I'm living the dream, and I'm pursuing this career. And now my headspace has changed of like, and I mentioned this earlier, of it doesn't matter about win, losing, or if you win, lose or draw, you just got to step in there and be the best you can be. On that day, I was not my best, not at all. And yeah, everyone will say that. But now I want to make sure I am the best. And so, yeah, that was a tough moment for me, definitely.
And we all have our ups or downs and downs, so I appreciate you sharing that. Knowing what you know now, what advice would you go back and give yourself before that fight?
I found myself to like take it more seriously. I think I was just um, such a weird one, because I felt confident, I felt strong, my weight was good, like so many things were good in my fight camp. And I maybe just thought it was too easy. And that's such a silly headspace to be in, especially in combat sports. I would probably sit myself down and be like, put yourself down. If you think it's too easy, you've got to push yourself further, and you've got to get to those moments that are rough. And then, you know, that will all add up in the rings. Yeah, I think see it as, yeah, take it more seriously, definitely.
And I'm curious because you're a coach and I respect coaches a ton. So, how does coaching help you as a fighter?
I love coaching. Like, I absolutely love it. And at the moment, I can't coach because I'm in Thailand, but every now and then I'll hold pads in a class out here to help with the ratio of like coaches to participants in the class. And I'm holding pads, and I'm straight away in love with it again. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get home and like start coaching and PTing my clients again. And yeah, building that side of my kind of career up as well. But yeah, coaching on the basic level, it's like revision. It's like you're going over those fundamentals, or those techniques you haven't actually thought about yourself uh, in a ring in the last year or whatever. So you can go through and you're like, okay, today we're going to learn this, and the reason why is this, and you take it through it, and you can show them in an hour how to perform it, how to do it on the pads, how to do it on a bag, and then you're like, okay, I need to remember that one because it's quite a good one, and I should probably try it next week in sparring or something like that. So on that level, it's yeah, basically just like weekly revision for the sport, which is great. And then on the other side of it, you have the evidence of someone trying again and again and again and getting it right, if that makes sense, because you can get to the point in the sport where you feel like you've plateaued and you've hit a ceiling, but actually seeing someone come back to you every week and they've learnt this and their technique's grown like that, or their footwork is massively improved. And you're like, okay, everyone improves no matter what level you are, as long as you keep coming back and trying again and repeating and doing that revision, you do improve. So like I think there's that element to it as well, which is incredible. And then also, seeing I have a 16-year-old girl, young woman at my gym reminds me a lot of me when I was that age, kind of a bit like, I need to be polite here. I can't be rude. I don't want to be rude at all, but she is very confident and very like a bit loud and a bit, yeah, she's great fun anyway. And I love teaching her because she has that fire in her. And I'm like, right, one day I'm going to get you to fight. First things first, you got to get your exams done. That's way more important. But yeah, in a couple of years, I'll go back to her and I'll be like, you coming back and you're going to fight now? Stuff like that, where you see like a little seed in someone and you're like, yes, you've got it in you. So when I finish my fighting, I can pass on my knowledge and build my own fight team and maybe just women, something like that. I would absolutely love that. So, yeah, I love coaching. It's great fun.
I love that, and I think it's almost a secret hack if you're someone that still competes and you coach, because just like you're explaining, you have to explain things from different perspectives so that they understand it, not just the way that you understand it in your mind, but so that they can understand it, and then you have those aha moments like you referenced, and it's like, "Oh, remember that thing later," and I think it's just a incredible way to help your own development as a competitor. Izzy, I'm really curious, where does your confidence come from? Because you've transformed your life at 20 years old.
Martin Cole, who trained me from my first Muay Thai session. And then about 3 months into my journey, he turned to me and he went, I'm going to ask you if you want to fight one day. And little me was like, what's fighting? Like, I don't like the sound of that. That doesn't sound good. He was like, don't worry. It won't be for like another year. Since he said that, we then started working together quite regularly. And then, yeah, but a year later, I had my first fight. So kind of that timeline of him mentioning it to me, and then I went away and did some research, and I saw what fighting was in Muay Thai and what that is, and what a fight camp is, and what I'd have to do and stuff. And then just kind of started there, and it's kind of snowballed over time. But yeah, he's always been that person who pushed me on the hard fights. He made those matchups when I thought I wasn't ready, and he completely believed in me. He's humbled me, and he's brought me back down to earth when maybe my head got a little bit too big. And he has given me that confidence, like no matter what. And the fight I had in February here that I mentioned earlier when I was the underdog and, I was supposed to lose. And there's a big gamble culture out here in Thailand when it comes to fighting. And I was getting my hands wrapped and I'm back to back with my opponent and big team, maybe 5, 6 guys standing around her are talking about me. It's from Thailand, so I don't know what's being said, but they being quite disrespectful when I later heard what was said. Kind of like, what's this girl doing? Who does she think she is? And stuff like that. And they were betting a lot of money for their girl to win. My coach, who speaks Thai, he is Thai himself, heard all of this, but just didn't want to tell me. No need to tell me. So there was this kind of big build up of I don't deserve to be there and I am going to lose. I'm going to get really, really hurt. And so I remember phoning my coach being from home. So, I was worried and I was building up these scenarios in my head. And, what if I can't land anything on her? What if she's smarter than me and stuff? And he sent me a video, way back in the early days of me training. And he said, imagine telling this version of you what you're doing right now. And I was like, oh, yeah. And so like he dug through the videos of like training and whatever on Instagram and he sent that to me. And it just kind of it clicked in my head. He knows how to speak to me. He knows what works for me. And that gave me that confidence of like, yeah, okay, let's go and do this. Like, yeah, I can do this no matter what, I will do this. So I think he is one of the root of my confidence on most days, definitely. And then you learn how to deal with that yourself and talk to yourself in a positive way and, manifest what you want and go after it. So, and that all came from him, I think, because I had no interest in the sport, no interest in fighting, and then he said it to me one day, and there we go. Now we're here.
What an incredible story and what an inspiring coach. That's a lesson that
Yes,
I'm gonna
yeah.
take away and hopefully use for others and send a little clip and say, "Hey, this is who you used to be." I think that's genius. That is genius. So, he's inspired you. What do you hope others take away from your journey? How do you hope to inspire others?
I just want to show that you don't have to do the norm. So I'm 26 now, and technically, in my timeline of a normal life, I should be buying a house, settling down, having a baby, getting a dog, stuff like that. And something clicked in my brain a couple years before. I was like, no, I don't want that. And I wanted to go down this route of training and fighting and seeing how far I could take it. And I know 26 isn't old. I'm not trying to make it sound like that, but I could look on social media and see, oh, someone's just got engaged, someone's just had a baby. But I'm out here in Thailand, and I pushed for this opportunity, and I saved my money, and I'm just going for it. So I just want to show that, like, you don't have to follow the stereotypical life. You can, it sounds cringy, but follow your dreams. If you want to go and achieve something, go and do it. It took me years to take this step. So it wasn't a quick and easy thing. I had to leave my job that I really, really loved. I had to save up a lot of money. I'm spending money out here and not earning. So that's kind of a weird one to get my head around sometimes, but it's all for that life experience and that want for something better and bigger. So yeah, and I don't think that's to do with combat sports. I think that's literally anything. And the power of social media these days is you can follow people's journeys and see them from day one all the way to where they are now. And people are doing crazy stuff with the marathons and the high rocks and anything. People are pushing themselves every day. And I think it's so inspirational. So yeah, I hope I can just be like a little reminder of just go for whatever you want to achieve. And if that's Muay Thai, then even better. But yeah, that's what I'd love to say.
Izzy, the really cool thing about you, we're going to put your social media down below in the show notes. The really cool thing about you is that you share your ups and your downs. You're not just posting, hey, this is all of the great things that I've done. You post the entire journey. So I think that's true, genuine, and authentic. So definitely appreciate you doing that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Izzy, the idea of simple wins is more than just the scoreboard or record. What does simple wins mean to you?
I think what it boils down to is like consistency over everything. Checking in with yourself every day and doing something like the whole idea of like 1% better every day. For example, with Muay Thai, going to a session every day or doing your strength session every other day or, going for that run or pushing your PD there. Just everything adds up again and again and again. I do love that concept because you can use it with everything in life, which is incredible. For something as powerful as like a sport, for example, you reap the rewards so quickly. So yeah, I think a simple win for me is just, yeah, back to yourself every day. And I'm not gonna lie, there are some days where I don't want to do that. I'm so tired and I'm so mentally drained or physically exhausted. But if there's just something I can be a little bit better than yesterday, then I'll go for it. And like for example, social media is such a good idea because it means like, what can I better myself today? I want to try that editing clip in a vlog, or I want to publish, I want to post this reel or something like that, where you can also see the rewards very quickly with social media. So yeah, it all goes hand in hand. But yeah, simple wins is just consistency is key over anything in life.
Izzy, you've got a lot of wisdom to share. You've got a great heart. You're genuine. You're authentic. I know 26 years old, and you really do have a lot of wisdom. Who's going to bet on themselves at 20
Thank
years
you.
old and reinvent themselves, literally? So,
I appreciate that.
yes, Izzy, appreciate your time today and best of luck moving forward.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you.
I have one final question for you. Who else would benefit from listening to this conversation? If you have someone in mind, go ahead and share the episode with them right now. If you don't think of anyone immediately, go ahead and leave us a review on whatever platform you're on so people just like you can find the episode. Thank you for your time. Stay strong.